But the two things I think men struggle with the most is the tension between marriage and business and kids. And so, a lot of the principles that I work with these guys on is like, I'm trying to help them just one, live by a code. Stop lying and tell the fucking truth. That's it. Just tell the truth about where you're at. Good, bad, right, wrong, working, not working. Just tell the truth, because until we tell the truth, we can't change anything. And the second principle is if you change your story, you can change your life. I truly believe that the stories we tell ourselves dictate our thoughts, and our thoughts dictate our actions, and then our actions compound over time. They become our behaviors. And a wise man once said, you can't talk your way out of a problem with the behaviors that got you into it, right? So these behaviors are dictated by our actions, right? And so I think it's these storylines that run our brains. And I think until we can uncover those and we can be honest about where we're at, there's nothing that we can do.
Robin Hood and Little John are walking through the forest, laughing back and forth at what the other one has to say, reminiscing this and that and having such a good time.
All right. Hey, welcome to Front of Center Podcast, FOC Podcast. You got me, Brian Trainer here. My brother Tyrel.
Yes, sir.
In studio, brought to us today with by our company, Rough List. That's cool enough to let us do this as part of what we're doing with the brand, and we talk to cool people. And today's a fun one because we have Sergio Nazzaro on. I don't know Sergio at all. Have just watched some of his content. You're working hard, man. I can tell with what you do. Super excited to talk about kind of what you're about and what you're doing. But do us a favor and just introduce yourself real quick so we know who we're talking to.
What's up, y'all? Sergio Nazzaro. I'm actually in Denver, Colorado. Right. So all that shit that you guys got going on in the background, like I'm not much of a hunter, but like I can appreciate it. Let's see, dude, I was military for 11 years. I was in real estate for a decade. And then one day on psychedelic mushrooms, I found God, and then he tapped me on the shoulder and was like, you're done with all that. You're going to go be a coach. And so I listened, and now I'm coaching married businessmen with kids.
Awesome.
So that's how we got here.
I love it. That's there's a lot even just into that to unpack. I mean, can we just talk real quick about your military career and how you got there?
Yeah. So I actually graduated from the Air Force Academy. And one of the only reasons that I went there is because my parents couldn't afford college. Like I didn't have another option. And so I applied for the Air Force Academy late. You're supposed to apply like your junior year, right? I applied my senior year, took the ACT and SAT 9 times to just try to get the right score. Couldn't get the score.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was the very last person to get admitted to the Air Force Academy prep school because I called down every single week from like March until May. And they're like, Sergio, you're not even the most qualified candidate. You're just the most persistent. So we're going to let you in if you want it.
Yeah.
4 weeks later, I was in basic training. 5.5 years later, I graduated. And then I finished up my tour or my time in the military, toured to Afghanistan, and then got out when I got back.
Awesome. What was the other option, man? If you didn't go in the military, what was life like prior to that?
And bro, there was no plan B.
Yeah.
Right. Like I probably would have followed my high school girlfriend to Colorado State, right? Kind of hung out with her, but obviously I didn't even apply to that. So I'd have been late. So I was really like, hey, full fucking send all the way into this thing. Let's hope it works.
Yeah.
What made you choose the Air Force and the Academy?
It was close. Yeah. So I went down there and did a tour, and there's like, they give you a chance to go walk around, hang out with other cadets.
Okay.
And so I knew my dad kind of like positioned it as like, hey, look at this opportunity. But it was kind of like masked as, hey, we can't afford college. So you need to figure this out, And so I went there and I was like, I like this. Like, I like the dynamic of the cadets. I like the dynamic of like, hey, you have to earn the trust of your peers. I like the exclusivity of it all. And so it was close to home, 90 minutes away from my house. And when I grew up in Littleton, Colorado, I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And I got accepted to the Merchant Marine Academy by I got a congressional nomination, and I wrote him back. I'm like, you can give that to somebody else. I don't want that. That's not where I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I just chose it because it was close, and I just like the environment down there.
Yeah.
And then I did a few years in the Army, but no academies. But every time I talk to someone, it's like that slap in the face, kind of that freshman year. Did you still eat that up when you got there and got that introduced to you, and kind of had to no totem pole?
I didn't do it twice. I had
Okay.
to do it once at prep school,
Oh yeah, yeah,
right? And then as a freshman, I'll never forget, like freshman year, well, prep school year, they wake you up the very first day, right, with blaring "Welcome to the Jungle," just beating on the door. Fell out of the top bunk onto the top of my roommate. Like it was a scary situation.
yeah,
I didn't know what to do. I mean, I'm 5'6", so that's a pretty big drop when you're coming off the top bunk,
yeah,
right? So then freshman year at the academy, they do the exact same thing. And so I was rooming with other like kids straight out of high school. And they're freaking the fuck out. And I'm
yeah,
like, guys, I'm gonna tell you something real quick. You're gonna get yelled at whether you're the first one out there or the last one out there.
yeah,
And then for the next year as a freshman, it was kind of brutal, but I think you just become numb to it at some point. You're
yeah,
like, hey, this is just part of the process.
yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah, dude.
awesome.
Yeah. So then
Yeah,
you,
but how long were you in the army?
How long?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did like 6 and change. So I did my first contract and then 3 after that, and
Nice.
just got out in 21. So it
Okay.
feels like just the years are rolling by, but
For sure, dude.
yeah, I always just tell people it was a good way to spend my 20s, right? It was
That transition out can be hard too.
yeah, yeah. Fortunately for me, I kind of always knew where I was going to come back to, brother. So I'm little brother, and we got a couple others and a little sister, and we all work together now. So it was like I kind of knew where I was coming back to.
That's good.
Ultimately, I needed just a break from it for a while, right? Had to run away for a little,
yeah, he'd always worked
go find myself.
for us and with us. And I think for him, being the youngest of 4 boys, what I really saw with him making that change was just to go kind of cut his own row a little bit. I'm sure that's the case for a lot of military guys that go in, but it was good for him to go off, do his thing. Uh, Ended up being winning Army's best medic in there in the competition, and just getting to kind of kick his own ass a little bit and come back. His own man. I think being the youngest of 4, we progressively get smaller. You know what I mean? Me and the other brother, all 3 of us, the 3 above, like played a lot of sports, and we
Yeah,
had some success in that way. And so, I think for Tyrel, he had to go find his thing. And so
Yeah.
it was as the older brother, and just kind of me and him are 12 years apart, and so it was cool to see him. It was scary as a brother, and at times I felt a lot like a father with Tyrell. Um, and so we have an interesting dynamic in that way, and so it was, as the father part of me really going like, please don't put yourself in a spot, man. Like, how about we be a cook? How about we, do something that doesn't scare me? And of course, that's not what any of those guys want, right? Nobody wants that. Not nobody, but
Yeah.
he didn't want that, right? So
Yeah. I mean, I can relate a lot to that because I was coming up on my 5-year mark. I could get out. I got in the military at that point. I was a captain.
yeah,
Right. I had the option to get out, and there's this voice inside of me that was like, "You did not sign up to sit on the fucking bench, bro."
yeah.
Now I'm in the Air Force, so I'm pretty much sitting on the bench either way. I get that.
I'm not.
I don't need it.
I'm.
Well, all right,
yeah,
I get it. Right. But at the same time, I was like, dude, I joined the military because of 9/11. That was one of the things that I felt like the first calling that God truly placed in my heart. And so I went, and I'll never forget, like I had the chance to get out and stationed down at Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado Springs. And I was like, man, this ain't it. I'm not going to live the rest of my life not having deployed. And so I called up Air Force Personnel Command. I was like, hey, you guys have any deployments? And they go, what? I go, yeah, do you guys have any deployments?
yeah,
They're like, well, we have one. I was like, can you send it to me? And so they sent it to me, and I looked at it. I called them back. I was like, I'll take it. They're like, well, you got to get your commander's approval. I was like, no, I don't. I'm in my deployment window. They're like, you sure are. And so within 48 hours, I got tasked to go to northern Afghanistan. And the guy that was running the squadron, he tried to bring me up on some type of charge. And he's like, you think the missions over there is more important than here? I was like, yeah, this mission sucked balls. I want to go do something.
yeah,
Right. And so I had a chance to go over there. It was like, because I knew that I had like, kind of like you, I wanted to go find myself.
yep.
Yeah. What was your dynamic growing up, family wise? Where'd you land? Brothers, sisters, mom, dad? What did that unit
Yeah.
look like?
Yeah. My parents are still together. Right. And like, we grew up in a great home. Grew up in Jersey, moved to Texas, and then out here. I got a little sister. She's about 4.5 years younger than I am. And like, we have a great family dynamic. Like, we see each other pretty much every week. We have dinner every week. Cause they're still here. Right? And they get to see my 2 little boys. Right. So they're grandkids, and my wife. My sister just had her first daughter. So like, we're a really tight knit family.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. So you had support going in there. You had, somebody backing you up a little bit as you went in, and Yeah.
100%. I don't think I would have made it through the Air Force Academy if it hadn't been in my home state.
Yeah.
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 My parents would have letters of me just being like, I'm quitting. This is done.
Yeah.
I'm coming home. And my dad would call me and be like, the hell you are? He's like, if you come home, we're not paying for college.
Yeah.
I was like, so,
Yeah.
suck it up.
Suck it up.
Yeah.
When kind of chasing that deployment, because that's the thing, right? Chasing deployments. I was 2015 to kind of like 2021, so a lot of garrison life in there, and so watched a lot of people chase them. I switched to unit to chase, and then ultimately unit changes, so you're in a changeover for 2 years, not moving anywhere and stuff, and so it's hard. It's not an easy thing to go find one and take it. I guess did you find what you wanted there? What was that like? Like when you got back 9-10 months later, was it like, I could have done without that? Or was it like, yep, that was impactful. That's where I was supposed to be.
Yeah, I don't really have any regret in my life. I got over there and probably within a few months, I was like, we're not supposed to be here. Like the collective we are not supposed to be here. What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
Right. And so it was like this moment where I was just like, okay, but we are here. And so when I got back, dude, I got out right after I got back in 2013.
Okay.
And I was lost. Like I was real lost.
Yeah.
I was living back at my parents' house, then turned to drugs and alcohol for a long time. And like, dude, it was a disaster. And for 2 years, I didn't even recognize that I was dealing with like some PTSD, like at all.
Yeah.
I was just like, I guess the way that this is just the way I am now. And so for 2 years, I was just like kind of suppressing it, drugs, alcohol, women, you name it. And then this girl broke up with me and I was like, hey, I actually need some help because I'm having some really dark thoughts.
Yeah.
And it was in that moment where I think it was the beginning of the transformation of me to become a coach because I don't like open up myself.
Yeah.
And so in the moment, I was like, I can't believe, they promised me a retirement and all I left with was PTSD. So thanks, guys.
Yeah.
However, without that, I wouldn't be here. So I'm very grateful for it. I think it just took a little bit of breathing for me to figure that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you moved from that into real estate, which I've done that for 20 years. I can see really easily why a psilocybin journey would lead you to want to leave that career. I hope none of my clients are listening because I want them to think I'm all in, but it's a career where, the money's good, but then you look at it and you kind of go like, what am I giving? What am I contributing? And so it would be really hard for me not to want to talk a little bit about that journey. Was that a guided journey you did with somebody that, or did you just kind of go solo and go, I'm going to go figure some stuff out and know there's some dark things and some light things you might see in there on the backside of that?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've done plenty of psychedelics and drugs and all that type of stuff in my life. I've only done one guided journey, which was back in January. But this was just me and my buddies. I got like 10 guys. Like we're really tight knit. And every May we go out to Utah and we'll do some canyoneering. Like we'll rappel. And like I think that year there was like multiple rappels. There were like multiple 100-foot rappels. And so we get down and we're down at the bottom of the canyon. And one of my buddies like, you know, take some mushrooms. I was like, sure. Well, we ate them, and like in Utah, like you have to earn it on the way out, right? So we're hiking out of the canyon and like my blood's just flowing. Then all of a sudden I get to the top and it kind of like crests and like I just hear this voice and it's like God going, do you see what I gave you? If you haven't done psychedelics, it's one of those where you're like, who was it? Right. And then I realized like I had to start having this conversation. He's like, do you see what I gave you? Like, look at your friends. Look at this earth and what I've given you. Like you're in the golden era of your life. You guys have jobs, you have families, you have your health. And that was the first moment that I was like, okay, like I've always believed in God. I had like a moment where I kind of like stepped away, but this was really kind of like me reuniting in that moment. And then I just couldn't turn it off.
Right.
And then when I got back from that, I was still in real estate hardcore. But when I got back from that, I actually found one of my coaches, Garrett J. White, and him and I were working together for a while. And that's when he introduced me. He's like, hey man, you should just try reading the Bible. I was like, I'm not reading this book. This book triggers me.
Yeah.
Yep.
There I was for the last 2 years reading this book. It's pretty, I don't know if you guys know about this thing. It's pretty sweet. There's some cool stuff inside that thing. And it was the exploration of my relationship with God that one day he was like, hey, you're done. But that came on the back end of me ruining my marriage in real estate.
Yeah.
And me abandoning my wife and me having a heart attack at 34. Like all of these things happened.
Yeah.
And then one day he's just like, you're done. you did the thing, and now I need you to go do what I'm calling you to do.
Right. Right. And how did you, I'm sure I'm kind of mirroring off of where you're at and going, at some point you look at all that and you go, that was on purpose, right? You were supposed to ruin your marriage. You were supposed to do that to come out the backside of this. And so, and that's really from what I've watched of you, that has shaped your message of where you're at today. Cause you're still married to your wife, right?
Yep.
But there had to be this breaking point where was it her or was it you that she was like, you're done. I'm done. Like what was that? What was that turning
Yeah.
point moment where she kind of slapped you in the face and said, "Time to make a change"?
There's two, right? There's three. One, we called off our wedding, right? After we were fighting so much, and we went to couples therapy, and then we got married. It was great. But then after we had our first son, his name's Luca, right? We had made the decision that she was going to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, it was a mutual decision. She's like, I'd love to do this.
Yeah.
And that was right in like the 2021 real estate market, which was like on fire.
It was.
Like, it was no.
Yeah.
And my wife had made about $160,000. So we were losing $160,000 in income, along with any type of like health insurance. And so I was like wearing that weight pretty heavy on my back. And so I went back to work 48 hours after our first son was born. And it was out of this just like fear.
A lot of men go through that when they have that first kid hits the ground. I see so many young men right now that are in my life and they just go, maybe I can take on a second job. They all of a sudden they start to put this pressure on themselves I'm like, dude, you've been doing good. Why are you making a change? Right? Like, why change that? Right? Like you're good. Don't freak out. Like it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
So
And it's because you don't know that you don't until you know.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yeah. And so I went back to work and, I pretty much was just like, hey, you're on your own. And she was just taking care of, like, I had this mindset of just like, okay, you take care of the stuff at home, I'll make the money, which just didn't work. And I never forget, I was sitting there in my real estate office and my cell phone starts ringing and it's her. And I was like, nope. I was like, I'm not dealing with this because we've been fighting, which is pretty messed up in and of itself. Like, if your wife's calling, pick up the phone.
Right.
Like, hard stop. Anyway, I did. So she called again. I didn't pick up. Third time, I was like, oh, something must be wrong. And I pick up and she's just crying on the phone, like nonstop, like hysterical. And I can hear my son just like, he's a few months old and he's screaming. So I pack up my bag and I drive home and I pull in. And as I pull in and walk through the back door, I see her feet just like dangling on the floor and the baby's still crying. And she's just sitting there sobbing with the baby in her arms. And I'm like, oh shit. I was like, what's wrong? And she like, she can't talk. She's just hysteric. Finally, after she calms down, right, she just tells me that she's been feeling like these dark thoughts. Like she had postpartum?
Yeah.
Yeah, depression. And so I'm sitting there being like, fuck, I can't believe that I contributed to this. Now, not the whole thing, right? I can't, like, it's definitely some hormonal things there, but I created the conditions for that to happen. That rolled real heavy on me. Now, you would think I would have learned my lesson there, but I didn't. I kept trying to figure out how to balance both. So now I'm aware of both, but I'm trying to balance both. And inevitably, when you don't have something as a kid, you put it on a pedestal as an adult. And I grew up poor, right? So I put money on a pedestal. And I was chasing money. I was chasing clients. I was doing all of this. And I remember about 3 months after that incident I just told you guys, my wife comes up to me and we're fighting in the kitchen. It's like 9 p.m. at night. And she looks at me. She takes off her rings, throws them on the counter. She says, I fucking hate you. And I hate this relationship. And I don't think you're going to be a good dad. And that was the moment that broke me. And I just knew, I'm like, this is not how my parents raised me. 2, this is not the man that I know I'm supposed to be. And 3, this is not the father that I want to be. And that was like my rock bottom, man. Like, just realizing like, okay, this is not the man that I'm going to be anymore, but I have to make a decision on how to change it. And I wish I could say it was just overnight. I think there's a lot of massive adjustments. Sometimes I pivot a little too hard and then the business would start to dip.
Yeah.
I think there's just a natural, correction. But inevitably that led me down another path of just being like, is this the life that I want for myself, for her, and for my children? And the answer was just a resounding no.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, How long have you been in real estate?
21 years.
Are you still selling?
Yeah. Yeah. Very active. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the pressure that comes with it.
It's all the pressure. And we have a really similar story where, you know, we decided to have my wife stay home. So that same that provider energy that I think about a lot and I talk a lot with men about is the pressure that comes with that, right? And then not only that, but like kind of the dichotomy that's created between you and your spouse, where I'm at work all day and I'm wanting exactly what she has, and she's at home wanting what I have, right? And so often you walk through that front door, and you're on just such opposite ends of the spectrum, right? Where she's exhausted from the kids. We had a fight early on where I came home and I thought, okay, I'm gonna cook, right? I'm gonna come home, I'm gonna start cooking, just get right to it. And we end up in this big fight. And she doesn't really know what she needs at the point. She hasn't kind of, you know how it is you get further in the marriage, you learn to ask for what you need. And when you're young and especially after kids, you don't really have that skill yet. And we've kind of get to the point where she goes, I actually want to cook. You know, I've been with our kid all day long. And the guilt of her being able to say, like, I want time from the kid. I just want alone time in the kitchen here. Um, and so we continue. I mean, we've been married for 21 years. Um, and we continue to learn these lessons around how to balance this, how to help. You know, I think one of my purposes is to help lead her to the best version of herself. I'm not telling her where to go, but to protect the space for her to become who she wants to become. Um,
Yes.
and so as I'm working to protect that space and also provide, you know what I mean? And so there's a lot of times there's these plates that are spinning and they actually are in opposition of each other at times, right? And so it's really hard to especially in a commission-based business where, you know, if you let the plane land, now the energy it takes to get it back up again it's exhausting. You almost don't want to do it ever again, right? And so,
Mhm.
but it is that really tough balance in me around can I show up as all the things I need to show up as, right? As this provider and then as what I think of as like the king for my family and carry that energy into the household as well. And now that I've got a 16-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old son, the challenges and the wonderful, beautiful challenges that come with that. It's not a challenge on their end, it's just a challenge on my end to learn to be the father of a 16-year-old girl and the father of a 13-year-old son as they're changing just every day, you know, every day I'm like, shit, I thought I had this figured out. I guess
It's
I
the,
don't.
it's the, yeah, dude, it's the trifecta of insanity: marriage, business, and kids. Like trying to manage all three of these at the same time.
Yeah,
And there's no playbook.
there isn't.
There's there's nothing that you could tell me, right? I mean, you can give me advice. There's also gonna be things I'm gonna have to learn on my own. But nobody talks about. Everybody glorifies the pregnancy. Nobody talks about the months after the birth.
Yes. Yes. And
When you're in a place of just like intimacy dies, and then sex dies, and the relationship can easily get put on life support. And then before you know it, right, the whole dynamics change, but you're attached to this old dynamic. And if you're not willing to change, then the relationship starts to separate even more. And then it's like, do you put the kid first or do you put your wife first? And everybody's got an opinion. And so you have to really to ground yourself and be like, what do I want?
yes,
And so to hear everything that you're balancing, right, especially with 16 and 13, I mean, I'm at 301. I'm like in the first quarter over here. Right? Like
you're
I'm playing a dinner.
I think like
Yeah.
anytime I run into a guy, Tyrel's about the same place, just a little further along than you, but I run into a young man that's at your guys' phase. I always like straight up, I'm like, how are you, bro? And he's like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm like, no, seriously. How are you? Because I know where you're at. Like you're in it.
Mhm.
Like you said, like, and it's not your wife's fault, but like the sex thing just it changed. I don't know. Maybe there's women out there that don't do that and they just turn into, you know, horny freaks after the babies come, but that wasn't I haven't found any man that's experienced that. And so, you know, you have this like your closest relationship now, her priority is the kids and rightly so, right? But it's what like a kick in the dick as a man to go, okay, now I'm still doubling down on this thing, but the kids really don't need me. You know, when they're really young, it's like it's mom and the baby, you know, and you
Yep.
come home. And I remember one time I came home and it's like she's in the bathtub, the kids are asleep because I'm working all of the hours, right? And I'm like, I'm gonna get in that bathtub with her, you know? And I come in, I start taking my shirt off, and she literally is like, if you get in here, I'll stab you, you know? Like I have been through all day long, you know, you're not even look at me right now, right? And it, you know, and it's crazy, man, because it's um grew up largely without mother around. We actually have different moms, but I grew up without mine really at all. And so learning, you know, love for me was just sex prior to having my kids. I didn't really know how to love my wife. And I remember holding my daughter for the first time, you know, and just this part of me that just kind of like cracked and opened up. That was actually love, right? This real connected, like, I'll die for you. It's not a sexual relationship. It's like I literally remember my brain kind of turning over, right? My heart turning over, going, "What is this?" And excited to come, like, leave that room, put her down to bed, and leave that room and go share that with my wife, you know, and going like, "Hey, like, I think I know how to love you now." You know, I
Yeah.
just learned something that I'd never felt or really knew before, and so that's the beauty of it. I think if we
Yeah.
can get into that growth piece of you know, I've always said like my daughter was sent to teach me love and my son was sent to teach me understanding. Um, and he continues to teach me understanding as a 13-year-old boy. but
Dude,
but
you're spot on with that.
it's a trip, man, and it's just you know, that's that journey. I not everybody has kids. I'm not going to tell them they have to, but I think it's pretty hard to become a full version of ourselves without having to give up ourselves for those little guys. Um, that's
I
been a
think
journey for me.
I'm not a big video gamer, but I always think about like that game called Grand Theft Auto, where like as you're exploring, you see more of the map.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
kids are like a big piece of this map for me.
yeah.
You know, because like you, I didn't know what unconditional love felt like. I loved my wife conditionally. If you do this, I love you. When your emotions are too big, I love you less. That was the reality of where I was at.
Yeah.
Right. Mostly because I was very immature emotionally and spiritually. And so like when she was upset, I just wanted her to not be upset because I don't want to have to deal with it. And then you have a kid and they turn into 2 or 3 year olds and they have an opinion and an emotion about everything. You cut the banana wrong and all of a sudden you're the worst father in the world. Right. And so it taught me to handle like emotions and not react to them, but simply just hold space for them.
Yes.
And I watched just last night, my wife's grandmother passed away. And I'm sitting there, we're at the dinner table, she gets the text and it's on her phone. I just see her have this moment of just like guilt for not ever calling. And then she starts to question the relationship with her parents and all of this stuff is going on. And I'm like, I'm sitting there and I just look at her, I go, hey, why don't you go take some time? I'll handle the dishes and the kids. Right. And I didn't run from her emotions. I just held it. And like the old version of me would have been like, I don't want to say just ignored it, but I've tried to sidestep it, you know?
Mhm.
But without
The
that
the
and
solution, right?
yeah, the evolution of the map, now I have like a different skill set. And I think kids do open up a lot of that. A lot of that.
Yeah, it's, they are great teachers, man, and it is, and it's and having to navigate that in a marriage as well at the same time because you parent differently, because you bring your own shit from your own childhood with it too. You know, that's the
Mhm.
interesting thing is, like, if you haven't dealt with anything, like, if you got stuff you gotta deal with, like, I'm no counselor, but I can tell you that the kids are gonna bring it up, right? Because 'Cause you're just gonna mirror what you saw, or for me, maybe overreact to what I didn't have, you know, and try and think I'm doing it the perfect way and it's maybe too much or whatever, or holding too loosely to things, right? And so man, it's such a good teacher. Um, and then just navigating yourself as a man. And I think, you know, I've heard you talk a lot about that and just you had a post where you talked about if your wife has to become the man in the house. Um, and my question behind that is how did you figure that out for yourself? That you know, because you're a, for all intents and purposes very masculine, what people might call an alpha male. I've looked at your content, military guy, worked hard, had all the things, you know. But how does a guy that anybody else would look and say, well, you're full on the masculine in the relationship? How did that get lost in there?
I was the fractured masculine version of myself. I wasn't even fully masculine. I was hiding and making it look fully masculine. The reality is my wife didn't trust me. So she tried to control everything in the home. I would try to cook. I didn't do it the right way. I would try to clean. I wasn't doing it the right way. I tried to offer help and she was more comfortable drowning herself in overwhelm than allowing me to take stuff off her plate. Why? Because I made her feel less than because she wasn't working a job at times. I broke promises saying I was going to do one thing or take her on a date night. And then I would, backpedal and then I would go work instead. And so inevitably she had to take more and more and more control. I think when weak men show up in a relationship, they create strong women. When a strong man shows up in a relationship, he creates a powerful woman. And I ended up just creating a strong woman who had to fend for herself because she didn't have a man that would do it for her. Not that she needed me. Obviously, she made it 30 years without me. But what I am saying is that when we came together in the unification of marriage, she was looking for a teammate and I was anything but that. And so inevitably, what did I find? Well, my sex life went down. And in fact, I don't know if you guys know this, but you probably don't want to initiate sex when you're getting yelled at and your wife is just being very masculine.
Yeah.
To me, I'm like, you know what? I think I'm good on this one for the night. I'm just going to tap out and go lay down.
Yeah.
And so I just found myself being like, well, why is she acting that way? Because at first, boys, like I was like, why is she being such a bitch? I don't get it. I'm not doing like I'm making the money, I'm providing, I'm doing all these things. Like, why is she acting like this? And you know, story. Eventually, at some point, you have to ask yourself, well, why? What am I doing or not doing, saying or not saying that is creating this? And it just got to a spot where I was like, I am so sick of having the same fight. I'm going to start focusing on me. I'm going to start working on me. And that's kind of where this whole, the standard was born. Like I realized that if I'm going to have a standard for myself and I live it at such a high level and I handle my stuff, that I'll know that I have taken care of everything that I need to in the relationship. And I'm showing up as the man. And if I can do that and I can create the container for her to feel safe, she can then be all of her. And so what did I do? I just started trying different things. I'd make promises and then I would keep them. I would take things off of her plate without asking. And the more I did that and the more that I showed up, the more playful and happy and feminine she was.
Yeah.
The more she started to let go. There's a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, there is a lot of trial. I think you have to have sort of I tell guys this, you got to have like a 12-month, 18-month approach to this, right? So if you're going to start making changes, my coach personally, he says you can't talk your way out of a problem that you behaved your way into. You know, you got to behave your way out of that problem again. And I've always felt that with my wife is, I want to get us someplace. It's like you need to have a very, very long-term investment plan here if you're going to do that. Don't expect an immediate ROI on this work you're doing because you're not going to get it.
I got to write down that quote. You can't talk your way out of a problem.
That you behaved yourself into.
Yeah. I feel like that's a sales objection at the end of a call.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be. It totally would be. But it's a great reminder to me to, you know what I mean? You got to act. You can't just say, I'm sorry. Right.
Yeah. I think, in real estate, it's like 90-day cycles. The work that you do now will start reaping rewards in January.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just look like every 90 days, if I just continue to do the work, 90 days from now, I'll see results in my business. It's the same in marriage. It's like, hey, don't expect you to do one simple thing and then it work, just like you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you balance I'll just use the analogy they talk about in the plane, right? You put your mask on before you put on your kid's mask next to you. There's probably I could go really deep on that, but this balance when you are trying to accomplish things as a husband and a father, but also you have to take care of yourself because I think men, the self-care that they do, they take it too far. You know what I mean? And they go, I got to take care of myself. I got to, it's like, yeah, man, you got to find some balance in that too. And so, how do you work through that? Because I know you're doing a good job of that. I've seen some of your content around that. How do you kind of find balance in there? Because I believe we need to take care of ourselves, right? Whether it's for me, it's fitness, right? It's, you're waking up and you're getting in the weight room, I do the cold tub and the whole thing that everybody does, I ascribe to it. If it say it works, I'm like, all right, I'm going to roll with it and give it a shot. But where do you find that balance there? And maybe you've got it nailed down perfect, or if you've gone over, like you said, sometimes you shoot too far and you come back, like, where's that land for you?
Yeah. I've made a commitment to myself that my own personal development will never steal time, energy, or attention from my wife and kids.
Right.
So I get up at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Get up at 3 a.m., drink my coffee, meditate, study the Bible. I go to the gym. I listen to a podcast on the way home. Right. I send my voice notes or texts to my friends, investing in my relationships. I always send a voice note to my wife. So by the time that I roll back into my house at 6:30, I've taken care of everything that I need to for myself. And as they're waking up, they get the best of me.
Yeah.
Now, the other piece is like time with my friends or going out on a mountain bike ride or skiing. Right. My wife knows that when I go hang out with my friends or when I get out in nature and do the things that I just talked about, that I'm a better man for it.
Yep.
But it's one of those things where I'm like, hey, if I'm going to go do this, I want you to be able to go out and do something you want. And so it's this understanding with one another of like, what makes you the best version of you and how can I support that?
And it's not tit for tat, right? Like in a healthy relationship, she's not coming to you. Well, you mountain bike, so I get to go out with my friends, right? I think it's
Yes, no, not at all.
yeah, and I think a lot of men find that in their relationship because it's just a push, like a tug of war, right? And I think if it's done well, it's not that, right? She looks at you and goes, "I honor what you're doing," and you therefore go, I'm just using my own life. Hey, why don't you go out to? She loves the beach, right? And so I know in February she hates it in Colorado here, and so I'm like, can we just please find you 4 days? I don't care, obviously, what you do because it's not my trip, but how do I create space for you to do 4 days on the beach? You know?
Yeah. It's like an emotional bank account. Like if you're constantly taking, credits on that account, you're constantly taking stuff out. Then when you go to ask to do those things, then it's going to be a tit for tat thing.
Yeah.
But when you're constantly investing in your wife and your kids, then there's room and there's margin to go do those types of things.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's times.
And I'm doing it because of that. I'm doing it just because I care.
Yeah.
But that's a byproduct of actually creating a healthy dynamic in a relationship.
Well, and the beauty of what you're getting ready to find here in the next 8 years is that you're going to be able to kind of pull those two things together. So the mountain biking, now you're taking your daughter with you or your son with you. Right. And that's the most amazing part of where I'm at now is like, you can tell like part of our gig here is we like to hunt a lot, but it's really more about being in the back country camping with your buddies. Right. So when you got four boys, sitting around the campfire for 6, 7 days, um, that's magic. But this year I was able to take my kids up for 3 days, just me, and leave my wife to the house. She can do whatever she wants. And that was just an amazing ability to go, hey, I'm going to take everything I love and bring my kids along with me to do it.
That's incredible.
So scary.
Where are you in Colorado?
We hunt in the Rawa Wilderness.
Okay.
So Fort Collins, if you go up over the pass like you're going to Steamboat,
Nice.
you turn right, go toward Wyoming, and I think we were about 7 miles in the wilderness, so there's nothing with tires on it is allowed, so you gotta either walk or ride a horse or, we take llamas or horses depending on the year, or we just carry our shit in, you know?
That's awesome.
So it's good. I was thinking, like, you'd be the kind of guy that would absolutely love it. Like, whether killing something is in your, you know what I mean, in your list of things you wanna do or not, being out there trying to chase an animal down and feed your family with it is a pretty cool experience, man.
I feel like considering I have the skills, I feel like I could kill the animal. But if I had to like gut it, or what do you call it?
Yeah, you got it.
Clean it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would throw up on everybody. Like might kind of ruin the vibe a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but I would try, but it needs a little bit of instruction.
Yep.
I got a really weak stomach. Like dog food's a bad one for me. I think in that moment you lose a little bit of that and kind of center yourself. And but yeah, I'm the pukey one of the group, so I feel that for sure.
It is something. I mean, it's not. I've always said this, man. If everybody had to clean their own animal, like after it was dead, we'd have a lot of vegetarians in this world because it's definitely can be gross, man. I mean, you're in guts, and depending on where you shot the animal, if it's a heart shot, life's good. Not a lot of smell, just that smell of blood. But yeah, it's a thing, man. But it's a great relationship you have with your food. At that point, I mean, it's not for us. It's not always. It's definitely not about shooting something with antlers. It's about going out and gathering food.
Yeah.
And just really experiencing. It's like that masculine, right? Of just going. This is like just the most primal way to feed my family. Right.
It's incredible.
It's awesome. And then, the sitting around the campfire at night. And then for me, you have about an 8-hour window in the middle of every day where you don't have anything to do. There's nothing to do but sit on the side of a mountain. You don't have your phone working. I mean, if you take a book, you can read. Otherwise, you sit there and you stare at a tree, or you stare at the mountain across from you, or watch the sun go over the sky.
Yeah, I think a lot of men could use that level of solitude.
Yes.
I think this is powerful as it is. It's also become one of the things that has prevented us from actually connecting to ourselves.
Absolutely.
And I think that's led to a lot of the issues that I'm trying to help men unpack. because we get so attached to something that we become detached from the thing that we've always known we're doing it for, whether that's our wives, our kids, even some deep desire. Right? And so we get lost up in hustle culture or whatever else, or comparison or social media or whatever it may be. And I think one of the things that I have found, exactly as you're saying, that is just like when I'm in nature, when I'm by myself, or they maybe even better said, like when I'm with my friends, but I can't be contacted by the outside world. There's something really special about that place, something very sacred about that place where all you're left with is you. And that's what I try to tell my guys. I'm like, intentional silence, intentional places of just like you sitting and being bored. All the answers you need are here. Like, fuck your cell phone. Fuck Alex Hormozy and Goggins and all those guys. They're great. Nothing against them.
Yep.
But what do you want, man? Like, let's create some space and some margin for you to figure out what you want. Stop subscribing to somebody else's life. And I think it's in that place on the mountain as you're talking about it. Same thing that I felt when I'm in the canyon or on snowboard backcountry, right? Like we were down in Chile a couple of weeks ago. Cell phones didn't really work down there. I'm like, dude, this is incredible.
Yeah. And if you're always chasing what you see online, if you chase a Goggins or Jocko or any of those guys, and again, nothing against those guys, it's just you're never cutting your own trail, right? And so you're always following something else, and you're always wanting more and wanting more. But I think the second a guy decides he's gonna have the courage to do his own thing, right, and say, "I'm gonna just cut my own trail," and if you're okay with the failure that's gonna come with that, you're gonna be a hell of a lot happier because whatever you do have is yours. Right, and not without help. It takes help. We all lean on each other. We need to tribe them in. But I think that if guys can let go of, I want to be, because we all have a thing. We have an avatar that we see on Instagram and all those platforms that you think, well, this is what I need to be like. I need to be, not everybody's a 4 a.m. guy or a 3 a.m. guy, right? And so if you're not, find the space. Tyrel's not. I know that we talked about it on one of the last podcasts. Is like his frequency goes up at night, which is totally fine. Because if he's going to get the most out of himself, then that's when you do it, right? That's when you go to the gym. That's when you do your reading. That's when you do your meditation. But the formula doesn't change, right? It's like you put the cake in the oven in the morning or the evening, doesn't matter. You still got to cook a cake at the end of the day. And there's some rules that apply, right? You said something about just when you're talking about how you coach other men, and you said something about, was it principles of just kind of what you coach on? But give me, I hate to put a number to it, 3 or 10, I don't care. But I mean, those big things, those hurdles, those things that trip up men, what do you find as you've gotten into your career on the coaching side? What are the commonalities that we all tend to step on?
Dude, I think most men, I like to break this up into 4 domains. My coach gave this to me. I took it because it's what helped me save my marriage and my life. But I think a lot of men lose agency and dominion over 4 spots in their life, their bodies. Men just let themselves go. They stop working out. They stop taking care of themselves. They stop caring about how they dress. They stop doing anything anything like that. And while that's a piece of it, I don't think that's the biggest one. I think the other one is just their spirituality. Like believing in something, whether it's their higher selves or God or crystals. I don't give a shit what it is, but there's this connection to self that needs to exist. And I think a lot of men lose that piece. But the 2 things that I think men struggle with the most is the tension between marriage and business and kids. And so, a lot of the principles that I work with these guys on is like, I'm trying to help them just live by a code. Stop lying and tell the fucking truth. That's it. Just tell the truth about where you're at. Good, bad, right, wrong, working, not working. Just tell the truth, because until we tell the truth, we can't change anything. And the second principle is if you change your story, you can change your life. I truly believe that the stories we tell ourselves dictates our thoughts, and our thoughts dictate our actions, and then our actions compound over time. They become our behaviors. And a wise man once said, you can't talk your way out of a problem with the behaviors that got you into it, right? So these behaviors are dictated by our actions, right? And so I think that's these storylines that run our brains. And I think until we can uncover those and we can be honest about where we're at, there's nothing that we can do.
Brother, rewind 2 seconds to the first one. I'm going to tell you something. Usually this is really easy for me. I can pick up 1, 2 things and I can hold on to them. And I can come back to them. And I keep finding myself getting really caught up at just kind of like listening and leaning in and kind of nodding and going, yeah, tell me more, tell me more. And I'm actually really struggling right now. And Tyrel, I don't struggle. I don't struggle to circle back.
I'm the struggler.
But there's such good shit there, man. And there was something. Okay, so you said the 2 main things. One was the balance between work and your marriage. right?
Yeah.
Um, and within that, I think though also like having like we kind of talked about earlier, but like you have to kind of be the kind of man that allows your wife to be the person that supports those efforts as well, right? Because if you turn around and she's not there to do her part in that, you know what I mean? It really is a tough thing to make work at that point too,
Mhm.
right? And so I think that there's something to be said for the work to be done in the relationship to get to where you can be the guy you're supposed to be there.
Okay. I think when a marriage is in chaos and a man is fighting a war in his home and at work trying to build something,
Yeah.
he can never rest. It's the recipe for burnout. It's the recipe for divorce. It's the recipe for suicide.
Yes.
It's the recipe for the downfall of the man and the empire or kingdom or whatever you want to call it that he's trying to build.
Yeah.
Because when he's out of integrity, he's just bleeding energy into his marriage. It's very challenging to then turn on marketing or sales or leadership or whatever he has to do in his business to generate money. And if you can't generate money and now finances become an issue, well, finances are one of the biggest contributors to divorce.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden the thing that we were building is becoming one of the issues that we're fighting about. And now we're in like a really tough spot.
What happens when a man goes to share? So, he comes home and he says, "Man, I'm really struggling." And she's not in a place to actually handle that. Right. So he goes, "I'm going to be honest with you tonight. Like, I feel like shit. I hate my job. I'm unhappy, just in general unhappy." Because I've seen that. I've seen that with men where they decide, I'm just going to be honest, and it does not go well.
Yeah.
But-
I don't think women are built to deal with men's emotions.
right. Then what?
Like straight up. Not like they're bad or they're incapable. I just believe that men, when they open up in that way, can cause more harm than good.
Where do you go
Now,
with
I'm not
it?
saying what's that?
Where do we go with it then as men?
Yeah. And here's what I'm not saying. Hide shit from your wife. Let's be very clear. What I am saying is that we have a responsibility to be open about where we're at and to take ownership about what the fuck we're going to do with it.
Yeah.
So this type of conversation, men like this, our friends, being around a brotherhood where you can just be open and honest, seeking that out, that's the ideal situation. And that can be really hard to find. Like most men don't talk the way the three of us are talking.
Yeah.
They just don't, which is why men have to go out and they have to like find it. And I think one of the biggest things is, and I'm not a big therapy guy. Like I think therapy culture is kind of bullshit. Like everybody's got a title or something. And all of a sudden it's just like a culture thing. But therapy is also very useful in teaching you how to just talk about your own emotions and recognize what they are. And so I think a lot of times in that place, your wife doesn't need to be everything to you. And so it's your ability to go find a brotherhood or a therapist or a coach or whatever it may be.
Right.
And then the conversation with your wife is different. Hey, babe, I'm struggling with some things and I'm going to go get some help to talk about them. But I wanted to let you know so that you knew it wasn't about us. It's about me. I'm just not sure even how to talk about it yet. And I think just that conversation alone allows her to come in without creating fear in her to a level that's going to create issues.
Right. And there's so much power in that being able to say, like, I've got some shit, but I've got it dealt with, and not in a swallow it down, hide it sort of way, but go like, we are so lucky just as brothers, but also as, dude, I'd put my tribe of men up against any tribe of men. You know what I mean? I don't care where you come from. Like we've just got a group of dudes every other Wednesday we meet. We call it muster. Stole that from Jocko, but I mean, it's in any time there's maybe 8 to 20 guys in a room and it's real. It's real talk, and then out of that comes other lunches and breakfasts and, you know, but, everything from, I mean, we talk about suicide a couple times a year, and unfortunately around a table of 20 guys, it's easier to ask who hasn't thought about it than it is to ask who has thought about it. And that's a really sad part. But you and I both know it's 8 out of 10 suicides are men in our age demographic and in our region of the country as well. But people don't want to talk about that, and but it's something we bring up because it's a reality because I think you just went through it, but the men that you see decide to take their lives, they have so much of themselves wrapped up in their ability as a provider, right? And that's all their wife becomes to see them as well because that's their identity, and so she can't but help think of you as just that. He's a paycheck. That's how he sees it. That's how you've seen you. I've seen myself that way too, and You lose that job and you come in and it's like, well, what's your value now? His identity's wrapped up in it. The way she sees him is wrapped up in it. Now that's gone. So what's my life worth now?
There's I call it I tried to like pinpoint the moment in a man's life where he dies. And this is kind of what I've figured out just talking to thousands of dudes. They start down this path of their business or work with good intentions of, I'm going to do this for us.
Mm-hmm.
And then somewhere down the road, the work or the business starts to take a lot out of them. Now, their wife was super supportive at first. Hey, go get it. Like, yeah, this is going to be amazing. Because he sold her on a dream, rightfully so, because that's the thing that's inspiring him to go. But then as he's going down this path, neither one of them really knew how much work it's going to take. And so as he's pouring into this, there's this moment where they start to collide. She's like, I don't feel seen. The business comes first. This is not what I signed up for. And so he has the decision to make. Does he let her go or does he let the business go? Well, inevitably, if he wants to be with her, he's going to work on the marriage and he's going to work on the business. And this is the season of life where it all falls apart. He stops hanging out with his friends because he doesn't have time because he's managing the business and his marriage. He no longer does things that make him happy, hunting, mountain biking, snowboarding, doing any of that because it's just about his marriage and his business. And then he's throw kids in the mix. Now it's kids, wife, and business, and he no longer has an identity. Can't tell you how many times I've asked a guy, when's the last time you had fun? And they're like, I don't. And so they lose their identity. And the thing that made them magnetic to their wife is gone. The thing that made them magnetic to their clients is slowly starting to die. And so what are they left with? Their new identity is their work. Their new identity is their paycheck. And so now what happens? As the market or the business goes up, sure, your identity goes up. But we all know it. There's going to be ebbs and flows to it. And if there's too many ebbs to it, and we're down the valley too long, then we lose ourselves. We lose our identity completely. And that's how you end up with depression. And that's how you end up with all of these other things that are just byproducts of a man giving up on himself.
Yeah. Yeah. Because then you go home. I mean, the perfect formula is lose a job, come home and the wife goes, I'm not happy anyway. You're no longer bringing a check home. So I'm going to actually leave as well, And then he goes, I've got nothing, everything I thought I was, I've got none of it. Right. Where's the guy go to start building that back up, bud? He looks, somebody's listening to us right now and they go, that's me, dead on. Right. I don't know who I am. I don't have fun. I don't have a hobby. I don't have male friends. I certainly don't have a male friend that I can call and go, hey, I love you. I'm struggling. Can we go have a cup of coffee? Right. Which is gold. And we're lucky enough to all have it. But I run into a lot of guys that I just, they when they open up, they go, I don't have what you have. How do I get what you have? So that's actually, I'd love to answer that question too. If you can hold on to these questions for me, because I'm more listening here than I am talking, which is a fucking blast. But the two things I'd like to know is they're looking into the dark woods. What's the first 3 steps? I always tell guys, you can see 3 steps into the woods. Take those first 3, right? So where's a guy go to start that? And then we'll circle back to the other question. So, yeah.
I think a guy's got to spend some time reminding himself what made him happy to begin with before he let it go. Like rake a list, write it down. Like think back to when you were happy. What were you doing? Then go do one of those things. Like
pretty easy, isn't it?
What's that?
It's pretty easy, isn't it?
Well, it's easy because we're aware of it, but in the moment, it feels like the time that I walked into a CrossFit class for the first time. I was terrified.
Yeah.
Or the first time that I had to public speak and I just stuttered and sweat a lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're like, I hope they don't remember my name.
Yeah. Like, just so you guys know, when your haircut's like this, sweat's just going everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. And so like, it's easy, but it's always simple, but it's never easy. Like the steps are simple. Write down what made you happy. Go do one of those things. If you didn't enjoy it, pick number 2 on the list.
Yeah.
Because inevitably there's a community around everything.
Yeah.
There's just a community around everything. And if you can get just back into something like that, it's a great start. And, I think another thing too is there's always a community that you can join. You just may not like it. What do I mean? You go to a CrossFit class and meet people.
Yep.
You go to church and meet people. You could just go to a meetup group, meetup.com, and find a meetup group. I mean, you can pay for access. A lot of the guys that I coach, right? They pay to be a part of the coaching program to work on everything. But a lot of them just want the brotherhood. They want other guys that they can hang out with. And a lot of guys are like, I'm not fucking paying for friends. And it's like, oh, why? Who cares? if you come into this thing and you become a better man and you meet a couple good dudes you get to hang out with, was that not worth it?
Right. Which
So
sort of
that's where I
answers
would
the
start.
problems that I asked the question, right? So kind of the where you start also solves the problem of how do you find that tribe of men that you can talk to?
Yeah, because everything does really have a tribe that you can find yourself in some way, right? Like, the last decade, it's been lots of intramural sports and different avenues, especially like the army, the melting pot. So like go do whatever they do for, go experience it. And it's like at the end of the day, you're going to find a community in there, whether or not you want to stick with it, right? You can't find your me time 8 hours drunk on a golf course every Saturday, right? And like that's not
Right.
going to go over so well, but
And the first conversation doesn't have to be like, hey, I'm thinking about taking my own life.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can lead with that, or you can just lead with, hey, I'm new here. Oh, I don't really know anybody. What's your name?
Yep.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Yeah. But you have to become part of that. It's like you have to start to become the man. Like I've told guys with women is like young men, I'm like, you better hope you don't meet the girl that you want to marry today because you're not the kind of guy that girl's going to want to marry. You're not him yet. At least I don't think you are, right? So you better start becoming that kind of guy that deserves the woman that you think you deserve because right now you're not there. I think it's the same with the brotherhood is like you need to start becoming the guy that deserves a brotherhood. And
Mm-hmm.
it sounds transactional. It sounds like you got to put money in the bank. It's not that, but it's just like you've got to start to live away. You got to start to change your standards, become, like you said, become the standard for who you want to be so that when they do get around you, because they can sniff it out. A good tribe of men will sniff you out in a second if you show up fake and you're not really playing the game.
Yeah.
You know?
I've had guys like that show up. They try to like, put on a front and then I'll put them on the side and I'll just ask them like, yo, dude, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like this energy's off. Is this even you?
Probably
And
not.
not for discussion. I'm just like curious, like you don't have to fake it around here. Like, I get it. It's been a little intense, but I think also we have a responsibility as men who have done the work in ourselves, men who have a brotherhood, men who have, started to create this life that we want to like be curious.
Yeah.
Like truth and grace. Like hold somebody truth to a certain truth and hold the line on somebody.
Yeah.
And also give them grace that they're trying, they're not perfect.
It's really uncomfortable taking off those masks though, Sergio. I mean, it's scary. A lot of us have worn them our whole lives, right? Especially if you've been named something. I was, an athlete for a while and that becomes an identity, that becomes a mask that you wear and people see you as that. And you, even still to this day, I will find myself getting around people that see me as that. And I'll put the mask back on. I can feel myself because I worked so hard to take them all off and just be like, this is me. I'm an idiot. Yep, sure. I'm going to go hard, whatever. But I can feel myself putting those back on, and it's hard for men to take those off. It's armor. It's a suit of armor. It's something we've used to protect ourselves from the things that we're insecure about or childhood things that we've had to deal with. Um, how do you encourage them to take those off and be aware of them? How have you become aware of them? Because dude, we're used to wearing them. You know what I mean? And how do we show up? Me and you here today, Tyrel here today. I'm like, I'm not going to wear a mask. I'm just going to be myself, right? Insecure when I am, and trying to be confident when I am, and you know, all of that. How do you get there?
It's a great question. I think a lot of it starts with like, what do you want? Like, what do you want? Do you want real relationships or you just want to be a part of a group? What I've noticed too is in taking off the mask, I think I did it simply by choosing to live by a code to just stop lying and tell the truth. And the moment I just started telling my truth, right? My truth, not your truth, my truth. I've noticed that a lot of my relationships have started to atrophy because they were built on an old agreement that was made on lies.
Yes.
And that's terrifying because when you start to take these masks off, inevitably your friendship circle is going to go like this.
Yep.
And you realize you can have a bunch of friends and still feel lonely. But all it takes is one real relationship built on truth to make you feel full. And so to take it off at first is terrifying. But I also think like you have to have the ability to recognize what are these masks? Like, where am I not being myself? Where am I performing to make other people accept me?
Yeah.
That was, I mean, you talk about athletes, dude, that was me. Moving from New Jersey to Texas and Texas to Colorado, not knowing anybody, having to perform to get people to like me. Cause if not, I just get the shit kicked out of me and get bullied all the time.
Yep.
Just created this dynamic. I think the unpacking came when I started to finally realize that I didn't actually like the way that I was showing up. Now, it's not like there was just like this moment where it all fell off. I think in many ways, you're watching, if you're watching my content, which is how we connected, you're watching me still take masks off every single day.
I think it's an active thing. I think it's a practice more than it is just one action, right? It's a constant because I think the world tells us to put on a mask, whether it's a brand, or an identity. Like hunting is one you wouldn't know it because you're not in this world, but it is definitely a mask we wear in this world, right? You go, I can be part of something. I'll dress the part. I'll wear the right hat. I'll wear the camo T-shirt or whatever it is, or I'll brand myself up, and then I'm going to get to be part of the club, right? If I wear enough of the stuff, right? And it's just you see guys do it. I'm sure I have a tendency to do it if I'm being honest. Um, and and really having to fight yourself to not dress up the part and not play a thing that you aren't. And in all of that, like, because you do have to try things on at the same time, right? Like you are trying out, like I'm going to try this out and then move on. But it's the world tells you put it on the mask, man. It's hard not to. And they're heavy when you wear them too. That's the thing. Once you finally take it off, you go, feels pretty good.
Heavy when they're not you.
Yeah.
But if you're a hunter and you put on your hunting gear, well, that's you.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
if you're choosing it to fit in, that's a different story.
Yep.
Right. I think it's all of like, I think it's more of like, where am I operating from self-betrayal? Doing things that I normally wouldn't do, but I'm doing them anyway. And I think that's the place that I look. Where am I operating? Where am I doing things that I don't want to do, but I do have guilt and obligation?
Yep. And that happens so much in the especially in the business space, right? I mean, that
Yeah.
really plays out where you go, I mean, how many guys you see stand in the box, right in the box, sit in the cubicle, and you're like, your soul is dead, just dead. And the fear, and the worst thing that could happen to you is you make really good money doing it. Because then you're really in trouble. And the courage it takes to step away from a career that is killing you inside, but it's providing so well for your family, right? And you feel like you're doing it because you're sacrificing. Like, well, this is what my family needs me to do.
Dude, that was me in real estate, bro. The mask that I was wearing in real estate, because I was really good. Like I built a 7-figure business.
Yeah.
I was like at the top of the game. And I found myself, the mask I was wearing was like this competitive mask. Like I wanted to beat everybody. I want to be number one in my brokerage for everything so that I could just like show everybody that you can have kids and build a business and do the things. So that was the mask that I wore.
Realtors are the worst because they give awards for all that too, right? You get your quarterly. Hey, you were
And they pay for awards too. Like realtors love paying for their own awards. It's fucking wild. Like I'm the number one Instagram poster. It's like, what?
Yeah.
But that was the mask that I was wearing. And then the thing is, when you start to wear one mask, you start to try on other ones because that's what was in my marriage too. Right. I would pretend we were okay. I pretend the marriage was all right, but it never was.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's tough when you have a fight, your marriage is shit and you walk out the door and somebody asks you advice. Hey, it looks like you're doing really well in your marriage. And ask you some questions. And you're like, dude, I guess I'm just gonna have to lie to you today because it's, you know what I mean? I just 10 minutes ago was fighting with my wife when I walked out the door, you know? How's it look for you today when you get in that? I mean, because you're not just perfect now, I would assume, right? You still have arguments. Shit still.
I throw myself under the bus. Like the other day, we went to my parents' house. My wife and I had gotten into a fight in the car. They're like, "How are you guys?" I said, "Well, we just got into a fight, and we're not over it yet. So you guys get to experience this."
Welcome aboard.
Yeah.
Like I'm just like I don't try to run from it anymore.
Yeah.
Like my wife said something because we have our own podcast, and she's like, "I feel like we're living a lie." I was like, "What do you mean we're living a lie?" She's like, "Well, we're supposed to be like connected and loving, and just like we're supposed to have a great relationship." I was like, "That's not everything. Like couples fight.
Yeah.
Like they fight about everything." I was like, "Are we the best fighters all the time?" No, but I was like, "We're shedding old patterns and old ways to build this new version of us. Like, just let's talk about that."
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really just trying to steer into it. It's almost like the thing that I don't want to say or don't want to talk about is the thing I'm going to talk about because I know it's going to set myself free. So I steer into it.
Right.
It makes my wife uncomfortable at times. It makes a lot of people uncomfortable at times, but it makes me feel normal.
Yeah. It's a trip, and it's so funny when you're in that moment, and then, you get into a meeting like, how you doing? It's like, yeah, not good. I'm late because we were having a conversation. You know what I mean? We had an extra little conversation tonight,
Yeah.
this morning or whatever. Um, but yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I of course, I think it's great. I think you put it out there and you go, yeah, we don't always agree on things, but I think it's that, you know, I mean, for me personally, just, where I'm at, like trying to really soften to that conversation. Cause I find myself having to make such, just kind of like we have 4 different businesses that we're involved in, and I sell real estate full time. And so I'm busy, right? And it's just everything has to be so quick and just a black and white, yes or no. Right. And it's not that I'm pretty much never an asshole. I try not to be, but I think that that energy tends to bring itself home too at times. Right. And so having to really soften myself to those conversations and listen and take a step back. Right. And it's not always like this attack mode. Right. When you
Yeah.
do that, it's a different approach.
I, that's one thing that most men are never taught: the downshifting from work into home.
Right.
Because when we're out working and we're out building, that's a very masculine go energy. And we have to be able to receive, like it's a balance. But a lot of times it's build, 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 go, go, go. And bringing that into the home, like it can feel very abrasive. It can feel very like combative, not even on purpose. So, sometimes I'll work at home, and the conversations I've had with my wife, I'm like, hey, when I'm in the middle of this, like working and stuff like that, it's really hard for me to have a conversation with you about something emotional because my mind is focused on build.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I don't want to talk to you about it. I just need to be in the right container. So if I'm coming upstairs in between like a 30-minute break for a sales call and you want to talk about something emotional, I do not have the capacity or bandwidth in that moment to do it. That does not mean I don't care about it.
Yeah.
Yet at the end of the day, when I'm done, it's one of those awareness pieces where I'll go for a walk or I'll meditate or I'll go for a run to down regulate and getting into a place of like, okay, now I'm in do mode, but also receive mode.
Yeah.
Go and help, but also listen and receive where she's at. Same thing with the kids.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's tough when, especially in your space now, when you're doing these kind of conversations. I don't know where you're at, but if we do like 2 podcasts in a day, I'm done. I am fried at the end of the day. Right. Or I used to do some coaching myself, just kind of before the other businesses got just too big and too busy. And it's an exhausting profession. Everybody thinks it's going to be fun, and it is fun. But I mean, doing what you're doing and having to really engage both hands, head, and heart. Because if you're doing a good job like you are here, like you're bringing everything, like it's everything you got, all resources in. And it taps you, man. It's hard to bring that and then come home and have more available for your wife and kids.
That's why I feel like I really, like the moment I leaned into God heavy and I kind of like started to have a relationship with God and my faith is the moment that the weight and the pressure were still there. It just felt lighter.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it wasn't me trying to hold on to the outcomes or the timelines. Not that I'm not, bro, I'm still having to stay vigilant against that because I don't know if you guys can tell, I like shit to happen fast.
Yeah.
Right? I want to get things done. I want to work hard and then get the result. But the reality is it's like not my timeline, not my outcome.
Yep.
And so the phrase that I've really been running through my mind, especially as I've brought him to the center of my marriage and my business and my life, is I'm committed but detached. Committed to the work, committed to my craft, committed to giving my best, detached from the outcomes, the timelines, and everything else that I can't control.
Yeah. Yeah. That's daily work though, right? I mean, you don't just you don't just flip a switch there.
Yeah.
That's a grind.
Daily vigilance with that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Daily.
It's a lot like I always say, like, it's like, don't hate the player, hate the game saying is just always, as a man, keeping the game separate from you. Right. So you live over here, and then here somewhere is your wife and kids, and then your business is over here. And like your business, especially, like that's not you. I know we kind of keep circling back to that, but it's just a theme that is so common. It's hard for me not to touch on it. Is just like separate those two things out. That's not who you are. But like you said, you don't control the outcome, right? You control all your inputs. And if you're being honest about your inputs, the outcome's going to be good. It just is. I've never seen it where somebody goes, oh, everything was shit all the time. And it's like, it's not hard to look under the curtain and go, really? Because you really didn't do everything you said you were going to do. You know, you did parts of it. You did it 70%, but you didn't really do everything because I've seen it, right? I can
Mhm.
see it here. There's proof.
Yep. Absolutely. And I think just one of the things I've noticed too is that a man, when he's out of integrity into his business, he'll try to control his wife. When
I
he
know all
says
you.
he's going in his business and then he doesn't do it and he's broken his own word, he'll then come into the relationship and he'll nitpick and judge, but all he's doing is judging himself because he didn't do what he needed to.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so then to begin, dude, like it's impossible to separate business from home. Like they're gonna bleed. Our responsibility is to create a healthy relationship with both, to understand that like this isn't our identity. It's just part of us.
Right. Right. Um, have you messed around with the archetypes at all? King, the warrior, the magician, and the lover. Have you kind of studied that or played with
I've
that?
studied it a little bit,
Yeah.
right? I don't know that I'm well versed enough in it to
Oh, you don't
like.
have to be. I think as you're talking, I just I did a through a Tony Robbins kind of online thing during COVID. We had to do a meditation where you had to talk to your lover, you had to talk to your magician, right, or your joker. You had to talk to your warrior, and so for me, it was easy. The lover was kind of what you would make up in your mind, right, in this meditation, and the same with the joker, the magician, and the warrior was very familiar to me, right, as some men are. Like it's just that was my mode of operation was warrior. But then when I got to the king, um, literally a voice came back to me rather than me having to pretend there's a conversation. Very clearly, the king said, "Why aren't you sitting in your seat?" And it punched me right in the face.
Yeah, how'd that feel?
Uh, it's been 4 years of me trying to work on staying in my seat, you know?
What do you feel like you're not in your seat?
Oh god. Um, I'll tell you what I'll tell you why what I've learned as to why was because a lot of what we do in our business life is with my brothers, and I always felt like if I sat in the king seat at the table with them, that I was taking the only king's seat, and what I had to discover along the way was that everybody has a king seat they can sit in. Right?
Mm,
So if you and I and Tyrel and the other kings around us decide we're going to sit at the table, they have a choice as to which seat they're going to sit in. There's a king seat for them available if they want to sit in it, and there's a warrior, and there's a joker, and there's other. They can show up however they want, right? But I think I was under the impression, without knowing it, that if I took my king seat, that they couldn't have one as well.
yeah.
And so
I mean,
that's I was doing it sacrificially or to protect or I'm the oldest brother, but I also a big my one of my biggest goals is to see these guys become the greatest men they can become and that we can, all have success together. I think I was thinking I would take away from their success or their growth if I stepped up and took that seat away from somebody. But what I've learned is that it's my seat to sit in. It's nobody else's. It's either empty or it's me.
yeah, back in 2020, my wife and I, we created this vision board for our life. And intended into 2021, we were really connected on it. Like it was the end of our couples therapy. We're getting married after planning 4 weddings, which is a completely different story, but we're getting ready to get married. And this builder, our favorite builder here in Colorado, they list this home. Now, this is in the middle of COVID, right? And so interest rates were really low, but we didn't know what was going to happen in the real estate market. So we go seeing this home. It's listed for 1.5. We get quoted a interest rate of 1.85 on a VA loan.
Gold.
And the lot's open, right? They're getting ready to build it. And I bring my parents out because we've been living in a $475,000 home. So that jump is a little bit, right? It's like that payment is a little bit of a jump. And so I go and take my parents out and I feel this overwhelming sense of just like guilt. Like, don't buy the house because if you outshine your parents or your friends, they're going to judge you for it. And so I backed out. And what I realized in that moment is I actually did everyone else a disservice. I have a responsibility to shine as bright as fucking possible, to show people what is possible, to put my fucking crown on, sit in the throne, and show people what king energy looks like so that they can see the full map of the Grand Theft Auto thing and they can see, like, that's what I want. I want my version of what you're doing. But it's hard to have that ownership and to put on the fucking crown and to own it, because it's in that moment we realize that we have other people looking at us, and now we have a responsibility to carry ourselves at such a high standard to allow others to be inspired by what we do. We don't do it for them, we do it for us, but the byproduct of us doing it for us is for everyone to see. And so it was in that moment when I decided to walk away from that home. I don't regret it, because it led me to where I'm at now and what I'm about to do.
Yeah.
But wearing that crown is heavy, man.
Yeah. And that's it, right? That's the saying, heavy is the head that wears the crown. Right.
You
And
feel like you're in it.
yeah, I do. I do. Um, I always felt like I was taken away from somebody else if I sat there, you know, just like you did, like, especially if you outpace your parents, which we all have, whether it's financially or career or whatever that is. There's guilt that comes with that, you know, uh, everything, right? Everything, even the nice toaster. I remember my dad at one point, he, we had this nice toaster and it had more buttons than just the one that goes down and the one that goes back up. And he was just kind of like, why do you need all those buttons? You know what I mean? And I'm like, and they just put those things, and he doesn't mean to, right? But he puts those things on you, and it's a little bit of a play small, you know what I mean? And if it's a fucking toaster, right? Who cares? But those little things hit you. They do. They punch you in the face, and then you put them. It's either like we talked about, it's a mask you put on, or it's a thing you put in your backpack, or um, it's just us not believing we're meant to do something great, and it doesn't always show up like a house. You know what I mean? I think we've all done that, right? I built myself a custom home, and it had everything. You know what I mean? An indoor jungle gym for the kids, right? Everything I ever thought I wanted, and it didn't take me but right at 2 years and 1 day to put it back on the market because it didn't fit. And so I was trying things on, right? I was trying on what I thought I was supposed to have because I didn't have it modeled for me particularly. And so you're just trying on, okay, how does this feel? And it's like, I realize it doesn't feel good. Right. And so we moved out to where we have land and a simple house. Right. Because that fit more what I was after. Right. I want to look out my kitchen window and see my kids climbing a tree. And so I'm going to fight for that. Right. Um, and so it's an interesting relationship with yourself, your past self, your childhood self, and those insecurities that come up that keep us from doing the things we're supposed to. But I think for me, I really wanted to hear your thoughts on the king thing because, I mean, just watching you, I'm like, this guy's on it. You know what I mean? You're saying, fine, I'm gonna put on the crown. It's heavy. I know it's heavy, and I'm not taking it off. Right. And you do, like, from where you got kind of that fuck you energy that you have to have sometimes to wear it and keep it on because you got to fight for it once it's on. I had foot surgery. I don't watch a lot of TV, but I had foot surgery in February. Ended up watching like basically every one of the every Viking show. I don't know why, bro, because I've never been into that shit. But I did in 2022. My only goal I didn't accomplish in 2022 of my goal set was I wanted to play a Viking in a Geico commercial or TV show or a movie. I didn't care. I was like, I'm going to find somebody that's going to get me on set and I'm going to be a Viking. And I just never, I don't know. I never did it. Whatever. It doesn't matter. That's the only time I ever dabbled in thinking the Viking thing was cool. But I watched all these shows, and one of them, I forget the one. I think it's just called Vikings. One of the coolest parts of that is showing the weight of the crown in that show, and I couldn't help but pick up on that thread that was in that because it gets past 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 in the full whatever 6 seasons. But you see the aging and the weight of, you think you want it, you've got to fight and kill the old king if you want the crown, and then they just say, hey, you're king now, you killed him. But then as soon as they put it on, you know what I mean, and then you got to go sit in that seat, and the decisions that have to be made from that seat, it's heavy. And I don't think a lot of men actually will ever put it on. I really don't. I'm not trying to make myself sound better because I did, but it's heavy, you know?
I think there's just this. There's a phrase that I heard: many are called, few are chosen. Everybody's called to be a king. Few choose it. Because in choosing it, you're basically laying down your own life to pick up a pursuit of something bigger than you.
Yeah.
And not everybody wants that. Rightfully so. I get it. Like, there's something weird about the 3 of us that we want shit like that. Like, it's a little weird.
Yep.
And It's only weird to other people. To us, it's very normal.
It's weird to say that,
And
though. It's you feel a little bit. I feel myself feeling a little bit guilty for saying it.
why?
I don't know. There's still a piece of me that just goes like, well, I don't want to make it. I don't want people feel like they're uncomfortable. You know what I mean? I don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable. I'm not saying I'm this big shit. You know what I mean?
Why
Um,
not? Why are you not saying that?
ego. I've always been really afraid of the ego.
Why?
I think balancing the ego with the desire. I think I've seen it take so many men down. And maybe it's not ego. It's probably unhealthy ego. It's probably an unhealthy
That's
uh,
fair.
you know what I mean, part. And so I've always, we gosh darn, without saying with without being too hard on our father, um, I love him dearly. We grew up with a dad that was he's an alcoholic. And, I don't think he accomplished you know, a lot of his dreams or whatever his potential was, right? Life was hard for him. And so I think that um in watching other men and trying to take note, because I'm just like, well, I'll learn from other guys I'll watch. And a lot of what I saw was like, man, I feel like the ego takes a lot of these guys down, right? They have some success. They think they did, they think that it's always the other woman, right? It's always drugs, alcohol, and women, right? It's like, what I've learned there is like, don't drink don't drink, don't do drugs, or at least too much on the drinking part. Don't do drugs and keep your dick to yourself, right? And that'll get you through most things. But I don't know, man. I think that it's something in there that just um
What do you
avoid.
think it's preventing? What do you think that is preventing you from fully stepping into?
I mean, it's going to always be in that leadership role. You know what I mean? And really stepping in and within if it's our companies, just stepping up and going, hey, this is I think the right call. This is the right decision. This is what needs to happen. You know, and really having that kind of stand up and say, this is the thing. You know, I've had a lot of financial success, and so I think that it's always there's part of that where you want to play small as well, you know, so as not to offend the other people around you, you know. Avoid the too nice of I shouldn't say that. My truck is absurdly at this point. But
But,
in my house
but
too.
my question is like, what is wrong with offending people?
I don't know. Fuck. There's probably a desire to be a nice guy in there that's probably doesn't need to be there, you know? Just wanting to be that nice guy, the guy everybody likes.
And when everybody, we want everybody else to like us, it's because there's a part of us that we don't like about ourselves. What don't you like about yourself?
100%. 100%. God, there's a
What is
lot
it?
of things.
What is it that you like? What's the thing that you don't like about yourself?
The thing I dislike the most about myself,
Sure.
um, probably my lack of consistency.
And what?
Everything, everything. I've always looked at like, I tried out for the Olympics 4 times, and I've always known that like I didn't have the money to be able to just train full time for 16 years straight. And so I've always known had I trained 4 years straight, had I had my diet perfect, I would have been easily one of the best in the world, you know? And I was up there even without the consistency, right? But I was always dabbling. I'm hyper entrepreneurial, like entrepreneurial. Um, and so I love trying new things. Very ADD, you know? And that's not an excuse. It's actually served me really well. But I think if I could change anything, I always look at men that are very consistent and just like check the box every day and they go down, they do their 10, 15 things. I'm not like that. Every time I try and do that, I've got 50 planners that I bought thinking this is the one that's going to fix me. And it never works. And so I think the thing I dislike the most about myself is just my lack of just really consistency. I guess I look and I go, man, I could get so much more juice out of the squeeze if I just was more consistent with it. You
Are you
know,
consistent anywhere in your life?
I'm consistent in the weight room.
Okay.
I'm a 1 or 2 a day guy because I love it. It's my mental space. I'm consistent with my wife and kids. I'm freaking a
So
rock.
we are. So we are consistent.
We are consistent outside of, I think outside of the business world. And I don't know. I mean, God, who gives a shit? But like at our real estate office, there's high producers. I was the highest producer last month, without trying. Like they'll people asking, what do you like? Fuck if I know, dude. I don't know. I've just been doing it for 21 years. I've never lied to anybody. I've never screwed anybody. That's it. 21 years of telling the truth, has gotten me there. I'm consistent with those things. I'm consistent with some basics. I don't know why, man. There's just,
So let's pause there for a second.
yeah,
You've just told me all the ways you are consistent. You cannot tell me in the same breath that you're not consistent.
yeah. I guess it's
This
just
is
in the
I,
mirror and
this
go, you could be better. You know what I mean?
well, that's a different storyline.
Yeah.
But when you give a shit about something, it's obvious that you're very consistent.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
And the
On the
reality
own,
is
be
there's
consistent.
consistency and then there's toxic discipline.
Right.
Consistency is you being, dude, consistency is not perfection. If I track my macros 29 out of 30 days, is that consistency?
Yeah.
Consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's consistent as fuck,
Yeah.
For sure.
right?
Yep.
And so it's just I think it's, how can we take what you're saying? Because the reality is you don't build a home that has a jungle gym in it if you're not consistent. You don't run 4 businesses if you're not consistent. We're not on this podcast if you're not consistently in my DMs, right? You're consistent, bro. And so that's the thing that I think when I say change your story, change your life. Stop saying you're not consistent. I heard this guy say the other day, what if every day you woke up and you looked for confirmations of as to why today is the best day of your life?
It'd be pretty easy.
So why don't we start looking for confirmations that today is like you're a consistent person?
Right.
I think
I
that's
always
the
thought,
hard. Go ahead.
like in the military, when we got to like when you PCS, you change your job or whatever, even if you just moved across the street, you got your new people, you knew everything. The thing that like followed you was like your LES, right? And you just had awards, whatever, right? And it's like it's just an acronym on a paper and how many you got, and then like a PT score, and it's like you can paint this picture of somebody. But I always thought like when you show up, it's like you can put those masks on, like you can be whoever you want. Like, how did you paint that picture? It's like you get to be that person now, and then the turnover, right? Leadership, always 2-3 years, you're getting new leadership, everything. It's like out here, it's like, I don't know, you don't have that like reset button where you can look back inside and be like, I am disciplined. I do these things. I get good score, right? I go to these schools. And it like that rut of just kind of that, I'm not consistent, right? But it's like you are.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I thought the military had that cool reset, right? Like that PCS, kind of that change of station, and you get to. It's like, okay, this is who I am. This is.
And that's the shit about owning your own company or running or being an entrepreneur is there is nobody that comes in and goes, hey, you got promoted today. You did good, right? There's 0 pats on the back.
Yeah.
All there is the shit, right? Especially when you're at the top. Like shit, it's not like plumbing. Shit goes uphill in the business world all the way to the top, and the really big turds land on your desk, right? And so I think there's days when you just every day you're like, all I do is deal with shit all day long. I thought I was winning, you know what I mean? But it seems to only be more shit when I turn around.
Have you ever heard of the conversation about the gap and the gain?
I love that book.
So I think a lot of times we end up just looking at the horizon of where we want to go, of the man that we can be, the business we want to run. And we're moving towards the horizon, but the horizon continues to move. So inevitably, we always feel inadequate. We always feel inconsistent. We always don't feel enough. We always feel like it's just a bunch of shit. In reality, it's our ability, as you know, to go back and look at the gain of how far we've come. Like we always measure backwards, never forwards.
Yeah.
Can we find irrefutable evidence that we are who we say we are? And then can we attach gratitude to the work that we've done to get us to where we're at? Because inevitably, that just becomes the fuel source, and it comes confirmations to us that, hey, I am consistent. I'm not perfect, but I'm consistent.
Yeah, but I've been fueled by fuck you my whole life. And so when converting from a gratitude fuel or to a gratitude fuel from because my whole, how it is, you grow up or like we did, and you got to fight for freaking everything. You know what I mean? And so then it's hard to not be fueled by that anymore.
Yeah. And here's what I want to encourage you to just consider for a moment. Fuck you fuel is powerful. Anger is powerful. But anger at some point runs out. See, some of the work that I've done on myself, just I would say in the last probably 12 months, is transitioning from performance to presence.
Mm,
Performance is this place where we're angry and we're trying to force things and we're trying to do more and we're making decisions out of scarcity or out of fear. The goals that we set are simply just rooted in I got to prove myself.
absolutely.
And it's that place where we're constantly performing. Every day we put on the mask. Every day we put on the mask. And then that mask becomes the performance that we do for our wives or our children or our coworkers or our strategic partners. And when you're performing and you're not actually living as yourself, but you're living as your non-self because you have your mask on, you become burnt out. This is why men burnt out, because you're constantly performing. You're not in integrity with who you are. But then there's the other side of this. The moment that you choose to operate from a place of presence, peace becomes one of the greatest performance enhancing drugs that you'll ever experience. Because when you're operating from a place of presence and you're all of you, you're in full integrity. You're not betraying yourself by putting on the mask. You're operating from a place of, you know what, I'm going to create from this place of wholeness because I have nothing to prove. And the moment that I've started to transition to that place, instead of fueling my entire life by anger and having this chip on my shoulder and these storylines in my head that have created massive success in my life, but also this empty void inside of me. And I started to create from presence. It's completely different energy because presence trumps performance 100% of the time. Yet we will convince ourselves as men that if we let go of this fuck you energy and this anger, that we'll lose our edge.
Yeah.
But inevitably, all that's going to happen is we become more grounded, more centered, more aligned. And every king that's ever ruled, and actually had the respect of the people in there,
Yeah.
I'd imagine they weren't living in chaos.
It'd be impossible, right? Because you're dealing with everybody else's chaos at that point. No. Yeah.
So,
It's hard to convert.
Yeah, I think this year has been like peace over happiness. Like find peace, right? Happiness, success maybe isn't the thing you're searching for. Like, where's your peace? Every day, wake up. Where's your peace? And that's
how
rolling.
have you been trying to find that?
Uh, kind of that presence, I guess, in a way of like, I guess like telling myself like I'm here for a reason. I'm in this moment for a reason. Now let's navigate through this. With that, I'm not the best as far as like the discipline piece. So my life is chaotic a lot. A lot of it's last minute. We're rolling down this hill and we're kicking up steam and let's get these things done. But if I can, and this last month was good, just kind of the clarity, kind of in the woods, getting out away. But I have the best if I can sit there and be positive to myself. Like those first couple talks in the morning are positive. If I can do that, then I can find myself being a lot more peaceful with every encounter during the day. But there's a lot of like self-deprecation in my life, so it doesn't always wake up that way.
Yeah.
The ball is rolling, something's happening. Mornings aren't the best for me, right? And so making sure getting up that time before kids, everything like that. And then so when 6:20 comes around and the kids are getting out of bed, that presence and, actually contributing and not making more chaos.
Mm-hmm. In that presence, I mean, children will flourish in presence. Marriages will flourish in presence. The most powerful version of you is the most present version of you, so your business will flourish. And that's why this vigilance game of like, dude, everything's fine for just our attention and distraction. And I can't remember who said it, but I heard it. It's like new level, new devil. You're going to master this game,
Yep.
and then you're going to be called to the next. And it's the next one that we have to, again, ground ourselves, find peace, operate from a place of presence and not performance. Because performance, man, I don't know about y'all, but the burnout is heavy.
It
And
is.
the people that deal with it are my wife and my kids.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like this is such a mission that I'm on right now, is to get men to, one, to stop lying, but two, as they transition and we build up the foundation, is to operate from presence and not performance.
It's hard because we come by it honestly. Like I remember, I think for the first time for me was like fourth grade, it was softball throw at field day in elementary school, and I beat the sixth graders, and I think I got a little medal, and I think that my dad was really proud of that, and I think pretty early on you go, all right, well, this is how I get the attaboys, so I'm going to keep throwing things more, you know, and that was simple how it went, right? Hit people harder,
Yeah.
get stronger, lift more weight, whatever it is, right? And so it's and the world is built that way too, right? I mean, it's like, what do most guys do on Sunday afternoons? They watch other guys play the game they love, which sorry, Tyrell, I know you love watching football, but I despise that. I really dislike that. That's such a big piece of our culture. A guy can, I always say, if I wanted to sit down and watch 3 Die Hard movies in one Sunday, you would think I'm crazy, but yet guys will sit and watch 3 football games, in a Sunday, and it's normal, you know? Um, but yeah, dude, it's, that performance piece is real. I mean, that's why, I mean, it sounds like it's a foundational piece of what you're coaching, but it is, it's a real thing. And especially, God forbid you get really good at it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the world's going to reward you for it. And I just want to be clear, when I'm saying performance, I'm saying performance as in like you're not operating as yourself. There's also operating at a high level, which is also performance. But that performance is rooted in presence in who you are
Yeah.
versus performance just to push your way through something.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause you're still going to perform well. I think guys that are good are going to continue to do things that are at a high level. I mean, that's where you're at. I mean, it's like, and I know you watched some of your content. It was kind of like you were comparing, like the more fun I have, it tends to be all of a sudden I'm better at my job. I'm seeing more success in my job as I go out and do more things that are adventurous to me. Right. You said something about that. How do you find that thing? And as you were talking, I was thinking, I've asked a lot of guys on the podcast, this like, would 12-year-old you be proud of you? And it made me think about just like, I think for a lot of us guys, if we would go back to 12-year-old Brian or 12-year-old Sergio, 12-year-old Tyrell and go, what was your favorite stuff to do when you were 12? And it's kind of the same. It's like, I loved riding a bike and I love shooting my bow. I loved digging holes in the dirt and playing. It's like, well, go do some of that. Go ride your bike.
Yeah,
Dirt's better than a mountain bike coming down a hill. If you want to feel like a little kid again, go bombing off of a single track.
100%.
You will giggle, you just can't help yourself but giggle a little bit or cry.
Dude, I was listening to Chris Williamson's podcast and he talks about the marshmallow test. Guys would know what the marshmallow test is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
So they did this test where they would put a toddler in a room with a marshmallow on the table. And they told the toddler, you can have the marshmallow, but if you wait and you're patient, we'll give you another one. And then they leave the room and they leave the toddler in the room by himself or her by herself. And the majority of them pick up the marshmallow and then the test is over. But some of them would withstand it and they would just sit and look at the marshmallow and they wouldn't touch it and they wouldn't eat it. And then they would get another one. And as if they gave them another one, they would say, if you don't eat those, we'll give you 2 more. And so it became this test of like delayed gratification. And I think the podcast goes on to talk about how we are wired to once we understand that delayed gratification is something that will produce results, we then become married to delayed gratification. And we believe that if we're not struggling, then it's not worth it. So then we attach our game to the struggle and we constantly just delay and we delay and we delay and we delay the gratification until delaying the gratification just becomes the identity. And then we never have fun. And now we're just working to work.
Yep.
So you don't want to be the best at the marshmallow test.
No.
Well, learn how to delay gratification, but also be able to cash in and have fun.
Yeah.
And that there's like a secondary piece to that study where they studied just who the kids were when they looked if they had food insecurity or not. And it's always food, right? 'Cause that's an easy way to test a toddler. And it was, of course, like you thought, right? So for kids that had some level of food insecurity, they weren't able to wait. So like, I haven't had an M&M or whatever in, forever. But I think it's the same financially too, right? Is that we're not good at, being patient. If you didn't have money, right, you're going to chase that more, when you're not, and it's the same, I think the same thing applies financially. Like, and that's really where it applies for us men, right? It's always that financial piece of, if I keep suffering longer, I'll have more. Right. Yeah. Dude. We've had you on for about an hour and 38 minutes, which feels like a lot for your day. And I could probably talk to you. I owe you whatever hourly rate is at this point, because I got more out of this. I don't know
I know. I was thinking the
if
same.
we'll even publish it. I'm like, tell us where it's in the bill.
Dude, this was great. I appreciate you guys having me on. I wish I'd known you guys were in Colorado. I just would have drove to you, man.
Yeah, dude, it would have been sick. I always plant the seed, but it would be really fun to do a follow-up conversation, especially as you journey, because I just know from where you're at, you're going to come up with more and more good stuff as you work with other men, um, and really being willing to step into the fire with them, like you are, which takes a ton of courage, to be able to step in there with them and say, "I got you. I'm going to stand next to you for this." And so, I think the stuff you find on the backside of that is just gold, man. And
I agree.
I saw you in your content, and I was like, he is finding things in here, and I want to hear more. And I apologize to the listeners for me getting a little distracted, and I found myself interestingly sitting here going, "Oh, I'm just receiving," which is actually great, as a blessing for me for sure. But I appreciate that out of you. But yeah, I'd love to have you in studio. We got a cute little space here. We had another guy in this morning, and it is fun. That in person conversation is good. You can really get into it, And so we'll find a time. We'll make some plans and get you up here. I don't know what episode we're on. Probably 12 or 15 now with you.
Yeah.
And so maybe we'll do like an episode 30 or something like that. I've got a buddy, Ryan Mickler, who has a Order of Man podcast. And I called him early on. I said, "Hey, do you want to be on podcast 25?" And he goes, "Let's do it now." I said, "No, I want to go. I want to get good at this and get ready for you, so we can have a really good conversation." And um, so yeah, if you're down for it, let's do another one. We'll get you up here and you can ride your mountain bike on some of these. What I always say, we ride on hiking trails out here, so they're rowdy. You know what I
I
mean?
love
They'll
it. Yeah.
kick your ass. But yeah, we'll get you out. Anything in parting, man? I want to know really, how do we get more of you? Where do you guys find you, and kind of what you're offering? And if somebody heard something they need more of here, how do they get access to you and get to go really deep on what you're working on?
Yeah, I mean, the best way to find me is just on Instagram at Sergio.Nazzaro. And if you want to hear conversations that me and my wife have about things that only couples usually talk about behind closed doors or after a few drinks, you can come check us out on the Late Night Day Night podcast, which is on YouTube. And if you want to learn more, just send me a DM. Happy to have a conversation with anybody about that.
Great.
And
And you coach under an umbrella? Is that just direct one-on-one with you, Sergio, or do you have sort of a group setting and then individual setting, or how are you doing that?
yeah, right now I have a 8-week program. It's a group setting for men. And then I take on 4 men every quarter for my one-on-one program.
And what's that look like? That is a weekly in person, weekly calls.
Yeah. So for the one-on-one, it's a day and a half intensive. You come out here to Colorado and we spend a day and a half together. And then we have a weekly call, and then we'll check in throughout the week. For
Yeah.
the 8-week standard sequence program, which is a group call, right? We got a curriculum for you, right? You get access to that. You get access to a brotherhood, a community of men that you have for life. And then we also have a weekly call every Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Mountain Time.
I love it. Give me 2 books I should go read today.
2 books you should read today.
Yeah.
The Alchemist,
Yes,
right?
sir.
I think The Alchemist. And dude, really the only other book I'm reading right now is the Bible.
Yeah. That's
I
not a
don't know
bad
if you
one.
guys I don't know where you guys believe in, but there was one, dude, I think the book of Genesis, when it comes to creation, is one of the most beautiful representations of what it is to be a creator. And you two are creating something really special in these podcasts and like the space that you're holding. And so when you look at it from that lens, at least the way I did it, I was like, if I'm made in his image and likeness, I'm a creator too, which means I can do anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's all I got for you. I don't know if you ever heard of that book. It's called the Bible. It's kind of well known. I don't know. Some people have it. Some people don't.
Read it
But
a couple
I've got The Alchemist.
read it a couple of times.
I
Yeah.
got-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for the time and energy. Tell your wife thank you as well for the hour and a half of your time, because I know it's precious, and your kids. And so just tell them we appreciate the energy that we took, and it's not unlimited at times. And so thank you, man. I appreciate you, and we'll circle up again. Let's do it in person next time.
All right, boys. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Sergio.
Thanks, man.